Now, the sixth edition of the African Agri-Investment Indaba is ongoing in Cape Town, South Africa, which has brought together high-level stakeholders in food and agriculture, and the focus is Africa's food security. A UN report shows over 258 million people in 58 countries and territories around the world will experience a level of acute food insecurity, with Nigeria alone projected to have 25 million at high risk in 2023. Now, Mr. Adefeko, Policy Advisor, Agriculture, Trade and Development Finance, and Chairman, Publicity Group, Nasima, joins us from Cape Town, South Africa. Good afternoon, Mr. Adefeko. It's good to have you on the program.
Thank you very much, Will. Thank you for having me.
Now, Mr. Adefeko, you're right there at the meeting. Can you tell us the importance of this meeting and how beneficial it is for Africa?
Thank you very much. This is the Africa Agri-Indaba, Investment Agri-Indaba here in Cape Town. So this brings a collective of different agricultural agencies, companies, and individuals, or what you can call stakeholders, to sit down and agree on the way forward to achieving food security. But this time around, talking about it from different narratives. So that's the theme of the conference for this year, is achieving food security, a different narrative. So everybody brings to bear what their side in the agricultural value chain, particularly in their respective countries, are doing. So there's a lot of deal making, there's a lot of conversation, there's what you call a handshake. Okay. It's important for you to note that in Africa, we don't do enough amongst ourselves, trade-wise, probably about 3% thereabout. But now we're talking about the fact that we should do more trade with ourselves, and we should, to a large extent, collaborate, cooperate, and make sure that we're very strategic, we're very deliberate, and we're very intentional. So in the last 3 days, that's what we've been doing here. So, and I think it's been positive so far, and it can only get better.
In recent times, we've seen the food system production in Africa has been, widely impacted by the shocks, geopolitical tensions here and there in Russia and Ukraine. We've seen the Israel Hamas. We're having to always be the receiving end of these conflicts. How can Africa strengthen their food production system to be able to export food, become an exporter and not importer of foods? Are there any urgent policy shifts that the governments in Africa need to do or make to be able to ensure that this happens?
I think first things first, we need to have government to be intentional. Government, of course, is about public good. We need to a large extent, make sure that we subsidize. We subsidize production rather than consumption. Africa particularly has comparative advantage in many areas, particularly in many food crops. Talking about maize, talking about cassava, talking about soya, and the likes, cocoa, cashew, sesame. So all these are important, but we've had challenges. Our challenges basically is that we don't have a handshake, and the entire value chain, there's no nexus. So that needs to be achieved. A lot of private sector players are doing their bit to make sure that we achieve food security. And of course, an hungry continent, a hungry continent is an hungry continent. I think we're not doing badly. We can do much better. Budgetary provision for agriculture needs to be increased. Right now, a lot of countries are not doing very well in terms of budgetary allocation for agriculture. But again, in talking about agriculture by governments, they just must make sure that they provide an enabling environment for the private sector to thrive. So I'm one of those who believe that you can only be competitive when you have competitive advantage. We have competitive advantage in many areas, and I think we just need to put our money where our mouth is. So those are the conversations we need to have. And I think we need to do more amongst each other, particularly as a continent.
Okay, you are the agri-investment this year. What agreements, you're right there, what agreements or consensus have been reached so far? What deals are in the offing at the moment? Is there any general sentiment you'd like to share with us?
Well, the general sentiment and mood here is that we need to do more. We need to be more deliberate. We need to be more intentional. We need to be more strategic. And we need to have these conversations by walking the talk. There's a lot of conversation year in, year out where we never do anything apart from talk, and we should stop making these talk shops. So the rubber must meet the road somewhere. And that's where I think we're lacking. But I think as a continent, we need to be more deliberate and more intentional. So I think that's a consensus amongst everyone here. Collaboration, cooperation, very, very important.
Thank you so much, Mr. Adefeko, Policy Advisor, Agriculture, Trade and Development Finance. Thank you so much for joining us on Business Incorporated.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you.